Hi, and welcome to Review It. So, I'm Tiana, and today is going to be on a topic of a new movie, Wonder Woman 1984. So, this is your spoiler warning now, if you haven't seen it, or if you just don't want to know any of the plot or any of more major spoilers or anything. So, my review of this movie, on a number of 1 to 10 would probably be a 5. At most a 5. Maybe you can give it a little leeway with the 6, because this movie was way too long for what it was meant to be. First of all, that's the biggest problem. It was 2 hours and like 30 minutes, and it really didn't need to be that long for something that was supposed to be. And like it felt like a Lord of the Rings film, but with no subplot or anything at all. Like in the start of the movie, you get your main characters like Barbara, Diana, Maxwell Lord, which I had my own problems with Maxwell Lord, because like I knew of Maxwell Lord because I watched Supergirl, and in the show he wasn't really memorable, but in this movie, since he's like one of the main core villains, it was just weird seeing what they did with this whole change of background and everything, because in the comics he was meant to be this billionaire who he's just one of those billionaires who just decide that they're going to become evil on their pastime because they got nothing left to do. So he's just supposed to be this evil billionaire, but in this story he's now this con man who is Latino all of a sudden now, and it comes off as a little stereotypical and racist in a way, because they changed his background so much to make it seem like he's not the same character. He's just the same character in name only, essentially. And then there's Barbara. Barbara's character, I haven't read much of the comic books for Wonder Woman itself, but her whole basis of I want to be like Diana, I want to be hot and all this other stuff, and it was a nuisance, really, and I didn't think that it should have been in there, because it's just it's it's something that you would see and more so in like a teen romance drama, not an action movie. So it was out of place, and it was very stupid and very simple in my own opinion. So you have the two main villains, plus when you look back at the movie, you could cut out all the scenes with Barbara in it and it wouldn't change the movie whatsoever. She was just there so they could have a main villain for a villain that you know of for Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman is, I mean, Cheetah is a main villain for Wonder Woman, but Maxwell Lord is not. He's more of just a general villain for the Justice League overall. It's from what I remember. But anyways, she just seemed like she was there to just have that name, Cheetah. Make these fanboys excited to see a main villain from Wonder Woman stories. And then we come into Diana. Diana, it was jarring to see this whole change from Diana to be like, I'm going to save the world, to, oh, I don't give a crap about the world. Who cares about the world as long as I got my boyfriend with me? We gotta find a different way. I don't care if I lose my powers, and I don't care if I become human, as long as I have Steve Trevor. which in itself is really, I think is insulting to the character overall. And they spent way too much time on the whole love story between Steve Trevor and Diana. Like, an hour of this movie is dedicated to that. An hour. And superhero movies aren't usually dedicating an hour and so into their time on a relationship. It was never, because they're supposed to be focused on the action and the fight scenes and the major plot point. Because as far as I know, all this is supposed to lead into like another Justice League movie if they're still continuing on with how they were beforehand with the DCU universe, where it's all supposed to be connected like Marvel. So if that's the train route they're going, having this whole movie, having like this whole half of the movie be dedicated to a love story seems kind of useless, and it seems irresponsible for the movie going forward. And how will they also explain? They have to learn how to explain all the stuff that goes on into the third movie as well, because you can't just spend all this time on this love triangle, on this love story, and then be like, oh, she's over him in the third movie, he's gone, dead, over with, done. We know you wasted your time with 2 movies of this love story, even though she should have gotten over him like years ago, but she's over him now. It's whatever. She gave him up twice. He's gone. Deuces. So I feel like that's what they're gonna end up going towards, and it's gonna end up happening. I was not really into Steve Trevor coming back. It was cute to have him come back and be like this fish out of water story, but they played on it too much, and it was like some things he shouldn't have been so surprised about. And then there's the whole his consciousness being in another person's body. That was really, really awkward and weird, and I don't think that should have been placed in there. I think they should have just if they were going to bring back Steve Trevor, they should have just brought back Steve Trevor, and that had been it. They shouldn't have put him in a different person's body, because everyone else who had a wish with the stone, like if we go back to how Maxwell Lord had made the Arabian general wish for a wall. That wall just showed up out of nowhere. It created something out of nothing. Why can't they just reanimate Steve Trevor's body instead of putting him in another person's body, whose consciousness we don't even know if was still awake or not? I'm assuming he was not conscious throughout the whole time that Steve Trevor was in her body, because of the whole ending scene with her meeting the quote-unquote handsome dude, because he doesn't have a name. His body is just there for use. He does not have a name, and he has no soul, or essentially, he's just here. Plus, that brings up some very, very, very morally gray questions. Like, does Diana care that he's in another person's body when she sleeps with them? And then she's constantly making out with him and all this other stuff. And it's just like, she was willing to get rid of a person's consciousness for her own personal love, which that is not something that Diana would stand for, especially if you read the comics. Diana loved people, but at the same time, she would cut your head off in a heartbeat. She did not care. She was a warrior, and she cared more about women than she did men. Let's be honest here. So this whole like love story plot where she cannot get over Steve Trevor, and he's like her motivation for living and like being a hero, which brings us back to the whole, I haven't been with America for 100 years now. Yeah, so like she hasn't been like active as a superhero in America or wherever for like 100 years. It's all kind of retconned in this movie as well, which because it's 1984 and we're talking about a movie that came out in 2018, I think, 2018, 2017, which means obviously she was doing something. She was like 30 years later, she came out of the blue and was like, oh, I haven't done anything for 100 years, but you were doing things 30 years ago on a global scale. Because at the end of the movie, she does her whole speech through Maxwell Lord and was like, you need to rescind your wishes, which a lot of people, a lot of critics were criticizing this already, but which makes no sense because there's a whole monkey's paw thing, but there's that element where what if people wish for world peace or like to stop cancer or like to keep people from dying or something like that. So you just have Diana sitting here like, you need to rescind your wish. You need to stop wishing for things and take it back. You can't cheat. Because the whole lesson of this movie is about not cheating and you can't take shortcuts. So, and it's just when you just think about like all the other things that people could be wishing for, because not everybody's going to be wishing for nukes or like war or destruction or money or greed or something selfish. Some people are gonna wish for like to end discrimination or for world peace or for equal rights or something other than that. And then you just have Diana over here like, you need to take back your wish. You need to stop being selfish. You can't win like this. You can't do it this way. You have to go the long and hard route. And it's just like, okay, sure. I guess somebody has to come back with cancer. Some world peace is never gonna happen. Inequality's back again. And it was really stupid. Especially when she's like doing this speech through Maxwell Lord, and it's like, I don't want to hurt anybody, and all of a sudden Maxwell is not a villain anymore. Because I guess he had a vision of his son in the middle of like nuclear warfare, and made him come to his senses, I guess. Even though throughout the movie he did not care about his son. And he literally was like, I gotta take care of this kid again for this another week. Halfway throughout the movie. So all of a sudden he just is like, I love my son. I care about him so much. And is running back home to hug his son with no consequences to his actions. He just gets off scot-free for starting a world war. Yeah. You can tell that this is a movie. And not a very developed one at that. It's more of like a first draft. And then, like, if that first draft was never changed. So, like, the whole plot is supposed to be, like, about cheaters. Generally, I think the whole plot of having cheaters never win type of thing is it's on the nose, and it's something you would put in a children's movie. Even though technically we know in the real world cheaters do win sometimes and sometimes they don't. It depends. Shortcuts aren't always bad, but they make it out to seem like you can't have a shortcut at all. You have to take the long route all the time. And it's just like, huh? What do you mean? Like, sometimes the shortcut is the most efficient way to do things, and you're telling me that I cannot I cannot have a shortcut at all at anything in life, then what do you say about people in the industry? And like in the industry itself, like actors and stuff. Most people who become actors, they take shortcuts because they are rich and they have money. And people who are directors as well. And it's like in every other place there's shortcuts as well. So just having this plot line where it's just cheaters never win and taking shortcuts is bad is pretty dumb. Especially when, like people like the storyline of Diana and Steve Trevor, that really wasn't a shortcut or a cheating type of thing, because, I guess you could say that Steve Trevor was cheating death, even though he didn't really cheat death because he died and just came back. He was revived. But it didn't go along with the whole theme of cheating. I mean, I guess you could say the Maxwell Lord story of him getting oil from like the wishing for it was cheating. But really it was just he made a bad situation into a good one where there was no oil. He made oil, I guess, is cheating because he had somebody else wish for oil in his place. But okay, whatever. And, Barba wishing to be like Diana and to be an apex predator, really not cheating. It's not cheating at all. I guess I'm cheating to wish to be like Beyonce. I guess, is that cheating now? So it was just inconsistent, and overall the whole movie, this plotline just fell apart all the time. The overall plotline just fell apart on itself, and like it's just weird because it was supposed to start with this opening scene where Diana cheats because she fell off of her horse, so she skipped a step and made it to the end. It was considered cheating, but it never went back to that, and it was irrelevant throughout the whole story. So it was just another 10 minutes wasted added on to that whole hour-long scene. So that's already like an hour and 10 minutes within the movie. So you have an hour and 20 minutes that are dedicated to this plot line. And the plot line it's not even put together correctly. Or at all at that. And the fight scenes. I guess the first fight scene was a fight scene. Not really, because, it was just Diana swinging on her lasso that looked really fake. You could tell that it was like wires and everything. Especially oh my god. The special effects were so bad. It was absolutely horrible. I would have never guessed that this was made within 2020 at all. Especially when you look at it from seeing the first movie and then you see that and then you're like, who did the special effects this time? So like the first scene, it was just like her floating around on wires using her magical lasso to save everybody. Mostly children though. It wasn't really a fight scene. I can't even remember the second fight scene. I would claim that it was somewhere in Iraq or Egypt, one of those Middle Eastern places, because, she had to travel to the Middle East to do this, and they had to involve, like, this Islam and Muslim type of storyline, not Islam, but anti-Middle Eastern storyline, because, certain people are lead actresses as a past with being in the Special Defense Force. But, whatever. I digress. But then there's the Barbara and Diana fight where Diana supposedly loses her powers, and it was just basically Diana getting beat up. So I guess that was a fight. It wasn't really interesting. I didn't care for it. I can barely remember it. And then there's a dark fight with Cheetah, the official Cheetah, and Wonder Woman in her special suit that got broken as soon as Cheetah touched it. So she had to take off the wings of the suit. Yay, great. That whole big scene where you were explaining the suit made no sense anymore, and that it made the suit not special. That suit was just there for action figures. And just to say, yeah, Diana has a suit change. It was there for nothing else. It did nothing. It didn't even bring out the fangirl in me at all. So, there's that. And I guess there's nothing really else to talk about. I guess you could say that the ending credits scene with the original, with Linda Carter, who was the original Wonder Woman, was good. Because, her show was better, honestly. And I think they should have just left the writing up to Zack Snyder. He wasn't the best with the first movie. In the first movie, it aged okay. We'll still go back and watch it when we have movie nights. But this movie, I never want to see again. I never want to watch again. I hope it goes. I hope it. I don't hope it fails at the box office, but I believe it will. It's getting lower and lower on Rotten Tomatoes. It just wasn't a good movie, and I don't think anybody, unless you're a hardcore feminist or diehard fan of Wonder Woman and will love anything that she does, will like it. But overall, for an action movie that's supposed to be a superhero movie, it's a no-go. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money on it. Just go watch the first one, I guess. Or watch Batman v Superman. Even that one was better. And I guess this is my review. Sorry for being gone for like 2 weeks. And this podcast is late as well. But I'm gonna try to get back on schedule, and I will have another movie to review for you soon. Bye.